Hey, Editor Soul here, just to give you guys a quick warning. This is not a spoiler-free discussion. We are talking about the entirety of Season 2, mostly Act 3, but mostly also Act 2. So, if you have not seen Arcane Season 2 yet, go ahead, watch that because it's all out right now, and then come back and we can have that discussion. All that being said, past me, go ahead and take it away. Alright, but would you believe me if I told you? Nothing at all. What's going on, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, as you have seen from the title and the thumbnail, it is absolutely no mystery that we're going to be talking a little bit about Arcane today. Anybody that knows me or knows this channel knows damn well that usually 90% of the time we are talking mostly about video games. However, I know damn well that you and I both watched the hell out of Season 2 as it was releasing this past month. It was an absolute freaking roller coaster of emotions, and that in of itself is an absolute understatement. I think it's safe to say, based on literally any video that I've made, whether it be on this channel or my main channel or with friends or whatever, that I am a certified yapper. And if I'm gonna yap about anything, it's absolutely going to be within the confines of something as excellent as Arcane. Before we truly get started with this discussion here, I want everybody to know that I absolutely adore this series to hell and back. This is a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 series. I'll be rewatching it to hell and back. I love it so much and I'll never get enough of it, and I can't wait for what's to come because this team has absolutely proven that they care about this universe potentially more than Riot does. I have fallen head over heels with the world, the characters, their stories, and I want more so bad it's not even funny. But of course, you're probably here because you feel the same way I do. So, as the title suggests, today I present you with one question. Did Arcane stick its landing? Was the ending everything that we had hoped for? Did it really truly wrap up everything in a satisfying way that left everybody happy and content? Did it do everything that we wanted? Everything that we needed? Everything that that story needed? Well, I guess that's what we're gonna go ahead and break down a little bit today. I'm sure that Editor Me will for sure put some kind of timestamp in to get to the immediate point of the conversation, but before we get into everything, I do want to let you guys know that I would like to open a line of communication here for anybody that does see this video and is interested in seeing more content specifically like this, or I guess more specifically for Arcane. Usually I like to do this thing on my main channel where I take your guys' responses based on whatever prompt I give you, and we talk about that in its own separate video. Now that Arcane has officially ended, I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on the ending. So of course, probably some of you are already going to go ahead and put your thoughts about it down below. However, I'm going to be pinning a comment asking you guys specifically what you thought about the ending of Arcane, if you really were okay with everything, and if you would like to see more Arcane, and I want you guys to respond to that pinned comment, and that way I can organize all of your guys' comments and we can make a response video out of that, because I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Again, something I do for my main channel, and people seem to enjoy those, so I would like to do that over here too. With all that being said, I think I've just about gotten through the gist of all my intro stuff, so why don't we go ahead and start talking about the meat, the main topic at hand. Now, in this specific sense, we will be talking about most of Arcane, but we're specifically talking about the ending. We are talking about Acts 1, 2, and 3, specifically of Season 2. By the end of this conversation, I will answer the question, did Arcane nail its ending or did it not nail its ending? I have not written out how I feel about that. I'm gonna just talk about it and see where things lead. Alright? Cool. Let's go ahead and get it poppin' then. Anybody that knows me knows the drill. We're going to talk about my likes first, and then we're going to talk about my dislikes. And again, just know I absolutely love this series and everything about it, except for the fact that it is based on League, because I don't know anything about League. I have never played League. I have looked into some lore like way back when, you know what I'm saying, just like anybody else, because the lore in of itself is somewhat interesting, but not interesting enough for me to deep dive into that game. Hell no. Okay, you guys get the gist. First, let's go over everything that I liked about Act 1, 2, and 3 of Season 2. My first major like is that visually, graphically, and musically, it still holds up incredibly well. Debatably, better than Season 1. I gotta watch everything in tandem now that everything's, you know, out in the open, just ready to watch. I gotta binge through it again, but all of the visuals in season 2 were so absolutely stunning. Literally, not that season 1 was bad by any means, but they absolutely did up the ante, especially because, you know, part 1 was so popular. They definitely got a little bit more of the budget, and they absolutely showed out on that. It is so visually stunning. I could never get enough of that art style, and it almost makes me mad at how good it is, because you will not find an art style like this anywhere else. It is so compelling and so captivating and so damn inspiring. Makes me want to pick up a pen again, man. I haven't drawn in forever, bro. That's what I'm saying. That art style is, oh, it's delicious. What's a stronger word than delicious? Delectable? I don't even know. It is a God-sent, heaven-sent art style. I absolutely adore it to hell and back. And on top of that, of course, they have proven once again that they know their music and they know exactly who's watching this damn series. I am somebody that's grown up on AMVs, whether it be Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. I've grown up on AMVs of, you know, characters and fights and, you know, very specific moments being edited to music. Much like, you know, the edits that we get on TikTok and Instagram nowadays. You know, I grew up on early YouTube with very specific AMVs from Linkin Park and yada yada yada. So they have always, it altered the chemistry in my brain at a very young age, seeing those awesome fights. So the way I absorb music, the way that I see fight scenes and things like that, the way it makes me want to write, that kind of thing is very, very important to me. And Arcane got me because they always seem to nail it with the music. Every emotional cue, every very angry cue, they got a song for every possible emotion and every possible scene, and it always manages to fit incredibly well. They always somehow handpick the absolute correct artists for every single scene they do with the music, man. David did it, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, David. I'm assuming it's David, but David did a phenomenal job, you know what I'm saying? Paris is always great, even though they weren't in this. You know what I'm saying? Stray Kids I mess with very heavily, you know what I'm talking about? All of the artists that contributed to Arcane this season, y'all, I hope y'all are eating good, man. I hope this Thanksgiving is going out to you. Cause y'all killed it every single time, bro. I'm still listening to Sucker on a daily basis. I'm still listening to Painted Town Blue, bro. Y'all just, oh my god, y'all kill it every single time. The direction with that is just absolutely immaculate, and season 2 proved that all over again. Y'all did an incredible job. Thank you so much for the contribution, because that music, I'm gonna be killing that for ages, man. Bumping that in the car every damn day. It's not a game. The next thing we have to specifically bring acknowledgement to is episode 7, because the first thing that we need to really address here is that episode 7 completely surrounds Echo, right? And it's very ironic in that way, because episode 7 of season 1 was called The Boy Savior, which was Jinx's nickname or whatever she called Echo when they first met back up again for the first time in God knows how long, right before their fight, which again, masterclass. One of the best scenes I've ever seen in media, like not even an exaggeration. But the way the story is told around Echo going to this very different future, a future where everybody managed to survive, everybody managed to grow up in their own way, it was so jarring that he simply could not believe it. Even though he'd been there for hours, he still was sitting there like, this can't be powder, right? This can't be my powder. Like, everything that happened to her, everything that she's done, it just simply does not compute. Even seeing that she lost Vi was just rough. Oh, I'll make sure. Hey, future me, add a massive spoiler warning at the beginning, by the way, because I did forget to do that. Oops. But the way Echo was coming to terms with what was happening to him before he met up with Heimerdinger was just, oh my goodness, it hurt so bad. It hurt us. I know Echo was grieving because he was like, where did all this come from? Why couldn't it have been like this to begin with? He was so distraught, he walked out onto that bridge where everybody was just having it was a farmer's market out there. That's the bridge where he last saw Jinx, where they last fought. That's crazy work, man. The symbolism in Arcane is simply unmatched, and they managed to do a phenomenal job with it once again, but very specifically with episode 7. Episode 7 is easily one of my favorite episodes, and not only even because of that alternate world and, you know, the storytelling with Echo, which was absolutely told phenomenally, but the varying differences between Heimerdinger and Echo's experience versus Jace's experience, going back and forth between them, and Jace's time in the, I guess, like what the distant future is going to look like, or even, I guess at that point, even near future wouldn't even be all that crazy to say, because it was just so situational and so, you know, crazy to see what Jace pulled in episode 6, only to find out in episode 7 exactly what was going through his mind. By the way, I was a Jace defender the whole time. Ask anybody. That was my king, my goat. But man, he just had really bad timing. I know it was unfortunate what happened to Isha. You know what I'm saying? What happened to Vander, of course. But goodness gracious me, Jace was going through it. You cannot look at that man and tell me that man was not swirling with absolute pain and trauma. That man got dirtied up. He had a mission to accomplish, and he had to do that, which is why we needed to see that episode of Jace struggling through that futuristic version of the world to really truly encapsulate what was happening in his mindset. And it was justified. Everybody saw that and it was like, whoops. Sorry, Jace, we take that back. The juxtaposition between those two storylines, those two intersecting storylines and timelines, was absolutely insane, because Jace is essentially going through what's going to be. Echo is going through what could have been, and it is such a tearjerker, man. Especially on Echo's side. I mean, Jace, that's rough, I completely understand, but I think it hurts more to see what they don't have. Especially with how much trauma and just heartache and terror these characters have been put through for 90% of this series. It is so insanely heartbreaking to get a moment with Echo, our Echo, to have that vulnerability, to have that, you know, that softness for a moment, to realize like, oh my goodness, this is truly paradise, because their biggest worry right now is getting Jinx to do something, or not Jinx in this situation, it's actually just Powder, truly, getting Powder to do something with herself. Their biggest worry right now is getting something ready for their equivalent of a science fair, essentially. Wouldn't that be the dream for them, to just have to worry about something so mediocre and simple, as opposed to them going out of their way to have to build a time machine to get Echo back to his original timeline? That is incredibly sad. Seeing Milo and Clagger and Vander and Benzo and Silco all together, so happy, just living, just existing as one big family, was the most heart-wrenching thing I think I have ever seen. And I think that's why episode 7 definitely stands a tier above as probably my favorite episode. Again, ironically, episode 7 of season 1 was my favorite. This is, they're neck and neck, if this one isn't better. It was absolutely incredible. It was done so beautifully. I love it so much. I also don't care what anybody says. Heimerdinger's song was beautiful. And I don't even mess with like folk music like that. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever that's called. I'm assuming it's called folk music. Correct me if I'm wrong, go ahead. But regardless, I absolutely adored it. So, episode 7, masterclass. There is more to talk about in episode 7 though too, so we will get to that. Another one of my likes is absolutely the fact of Victor coming into his own as an antagonist. He truly did want to go out of his way to do his best to fix the world in the way that he knew how. He felt the results of Hextech essentially combining with him and turning him into this absolute god. He decided everybody needed to feel that way. He decided that all of this hurt, this pain, these imperfections could be fixed if we just become one mind, if we all become one with the Arcane. And it's one of those things where you can't really argue with him because you can see his mindset. It's one of those Thanos things where it is proven over and over and over again throughout the course of the series that all of this heartache, all of this just terror, all of this just traumatizing stuff could absolutely 100% be avoided if there was all one collective mind that knew the dangers and the terrors and, you know, how to take care of one another, as opposed to consistently fighting each other and being angry and upset and hurt all the time, and, you know, these imperfections of messed up legs or, you know, needing to lean on a cane or anything like that. And there's just, it was just Victor's upbringing was such a beautiful told story, man. It was such a beautifully told story. I absolutely adore Victor as a character, and I completely understand why he did what he did. Unfortunately, he went about it the wrong way, because taking away people's free will is not the way, big fella. That is not how you handle things, and he did need to be stopped. Regardless of the, you know, in his mind at the moment, good intentions. But he easily became the best antagonist of Arcane, and easily one of my favorite antagonists of all time. What a beautifully told story on his part. It is absolutely understandable why he did what he had to do. And it's one of those situations where, because it's such a relatable situation for a lot of people, you know, you see a lot of imperfections in yourself, and you might unconsciously, you know, you might take the chance to become, you know, of somebody else to maybe feel a little bit better about yourself, you know? I can understand that in some ways or others, you know, but there's, as Jace put it in episode 9, there is beauty in imperfections, and that is damn near makes me want to cry again, because that is an absolutely beautiful line. Okay, please do not ever get that twisted. That is a beautiful line, because he is absolutely right. There is beauty in imperfections, and that's why it absolutely makes sense that he was able to make it through to Victor, because that is an amazing, like, because there is no such thing as perfection. I say it all the time that there is no such thing as perfection. As much as Victor probably wanted there to be, as much power as he held, as much as he felt like he maybe could have done it, there is no such thing as perfect. And a world like that, as much as he would have thought it was going to be, would not have been perfect. Ideal for him, and possibly some others, maybe. Perfect? No. Not in a world without free will. That's not how we progress. Overall, phenomenal outcome, man. Love Victor. He did phenomenal as the antagonist. I guess we're kind of bringing it back to Echo, because he solidified himself as my favorite character. And it really sucks because it's weird, right? It feels like overall, we did not really get that much time with Echo. Compared to Jinx, to Vi, to Jace, to even Mel. We didn't really get that much time with Echo. And Echo, more than pretty much anybody, whether it be from Piltover, from Zaun, has more reason than anybody to have crashed out and just lost his mind and used all of his brilliance, that little brilliant mind of his, to do some real damage to the up top. But he didn't. He was doing his best to preserve, to, you know, be free, to, you know, give everybody the best life that he could give them. Okay? And his comeback, his return to the original timeline is certified GOAT status, because he single-handedly came back. We got more to talk about, but he came back. He talked Jinx, one of the most powerful characters in Arcane, out of killing herself, thank God, brought her to war with the other Firelights that were ready to fight, as well as the rest of Zaun, essentially, was Savika leading the charge. And then buzzer beater type, this is the second channel, buzzer beater type shit, ran up on Victor while he was taking over everybody. He was legitimately world's last defense. He was that area's last defense. It was him or nothing. And bro got in there. He risked everything to turn that dial back farther than he knew would work. He risked everything to spirit bomb Victor with something that shouldn't even exist, and got the buzzer beater, man, and saved everybody. And at the cost of everything. Well, again, we'll talk about it, but I think Echo deserves so much better than what he got, especially for what he did. Man, he lost his mentor, he lost his girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is, bro was having a rough week. That was a rough week for bro. And that really sucks, because he is such a good person. He is such a good person. God, I'm so upset, man. Especially, again, after episode 7. Can we do it like it's the first time? This boy, man, he's so good. He is so good. And I love him for it. God, I love Echo. See, that's the thing, right? Even before a lot of things, right? When I started to get to really know Echo as a character, his time abilities, you know, his tech, especially his weapons. When I tell you, when his weapons popped up, like right at the end, when I saw those weapons, I got up and I screamed, because I'm like, he's about to dog walk everybody, bro. As soon as he got his hands on those weapons, I knew it was game over for Victor, man. I saw that coming a mile away. I was so happy he got his weapons. Goodness me, what an absolutely goated character. Echo stands above the rest as Himothy Johnson, brother. Himothy Johnson. Love to see it, man. We love it out here. Another thing that I liked, that I feel like a lot of people don't really give credit for, is, especially this arc, is a lot of the show don't tell situations that we got, right? I guess we'll talk a little bit about this now. It is very obvious that they were on a little bit of a timer, and so they could only do so much with that time allotted. So they made sure to optimize as much show don't tell as they possibly could, right? Again, they, you know, obviously some of it was hidden within subtext of lines between characters and things like that, and I can absolutely respect that still, because if you understand what people are saying, if you understand, you know, if you truly understand how these characters have, how far these characters have come, and, you know, you're paying attention to their characters and what they're saying to each other, you can get so much information out of the little dialogue that they share between each other. Literally, the conversation between, you know, I mean, it's not Silco, but it's, you know, her delusion of Silco. The dialogue between those two is absolutely one of the most important in the series, and I feel like that got overlooked, right? And it essentially really does, you know, encapsulate how much the cycle of violence will continue if somebody doesn't go out of their way to stop it, in, you know, even if it takes drastic measures. And that is precisely what Jinx did, which is why initially she just had to take herself out of the equation. That way she wasn't getting in the way of, you know, Caitlyn's situation. She wasn't getting in the way of Vi, obviously, because, you know, that hug between her and Vi, she said, "You'll never give up on me, will you?" That she had to leave. She does love Vi. She cares so much for her sister, and she knows Vi cares for her, but she cannot stay with her. And it's just one of those things where it was, you know, even then, you know, on paper, it's very obvious just based on the lines and the actions, but sometimes, you know, people don't really understand what's happening there, and, you know, you pay attention to the conversation she has with Silco, and it's just so important to realize what he's actually saying to her in her mind. That's not even actually Silco saying it, it is just her embodiment of Silco saying it. It's her telling herself, you know what needs to happen. And it's just so beautifully woven in this story, man. They killed it with that. And then, of course, the relationship between Kate and Vi, you know, Kate showing up knowing damn well Vi was going to be the one in that cage, and, you know, she was smiling. She knew what was going to happen, but the fact that she let her go out of her way to do that shows that she trusts Vi at this point. She knows her character. She knows who she is. She loves her regardless, and she was going to let her do what she felt she needed to do, because she does absolutely understand that Vi, or that Jinx rather, is family to Vi. And so, you know, she was like, you know what? I'm going to let her do her thing. One of two things is going to happen. We'll play it by ear. And, you know, that little interaction and what happened afterwards was definitely a very nice showcase of the relationship up to that point, right? It was such a beautiful moment. It was such a beautiful moment. And then, of course, something that a lot of people don't really pay attention to is, you know, again, because we don't have a direct scene of it or anything like that, whatever Echo said to Jinx got her to join the war, clean up a little bit, and get motivated to fight. That, especially after what we had just heard, like, in the episode prior, like, you gotta know that they were talking heavy, man. Like, they were updating each other on everything. And then, you know, a lot of people definitely noticed. I didn't notice it at first as much, but the way that they were kind of decorated in each other's stuff, right? She's wearing his cloak. She decorated it a little bit. She cut it up, you know, to make it kind of spiky, like her ultimate weapon, her weapon. And then, you know, Echo wearing, you know, her designs and things like that. It's just subtle storytelling that there was a very hefty conversation going on, and in the background of doing that, he convinced her, like, you know, we have a job to do, and we you know, we got to protect our own, but we got to fight with our own to do that. And that's how they, you know, they convinced Zon to, you know, get in on that last fight, you know, to protect everything, even though Piltover screwed them over time and time again. It was it's so beautiful, dude. It is so beautiful. I love the subtle storytelling. They did a phenomenal job with that. And then my last primary thing from Act 3, because we got to get going here, is essentially the fact that they subtly hinted at what's to come. And that is uber exciting. I cannot wait for what's to come, because this story was so beautifully told, and I'm still so enamored with how they wrote these characters that I can't wait to meet more characters. I can't wait to meet new characters. I can't wait to see what's going on in other parts of the world. Maybe we're going to Noxus next. Can't wait to see the villains over there. Can't wait to see what their justifications are. Can't wait to see what unravels with that when Mel gets her ass over there. It's gonna be a bloodbath, brother. It's going to be crazy, man. I can't wait to see what goes on with that. That was really short, actually. That pretty much sums up how I feel. I'm really excited for the future. This series, this season, this ending still got me excited for what's to come next. And that's saying something. I think that's really saying something. But okay, it's about time we go ahead and move on to my negatives, the things that I wasn't messing with as heavy. Obviously, let's just go ahead and get this out the way now. The breakneck pacing. It was alarmingly jarring how fast things proceeded in Act 3, right? The pacing, I'm gonna be completely honest, the pacing in Act 1 and 2 was absolutely perfect, but that's why it got concerning, okay? I was concerned from the minute we saw what happened to Isha, what happened with Victor and Jace. I'm sitting here thinking, these episodes are lengthy, they are meaty. How in the world are they going to sum all of these stories up, all of these characters, you know, intermingled relationships? How are they going to solve all of this in 3 episodes and still make it climactic as hell? How are they going to do that? And you could definitely tell they had to start snipping, man. They had to start moving the pace along a lot. For example, the buildup between Zaun and Piltover throughout the course of this series was phenomenally done, right? Levels of Final Fantasy VII done well, okay? And that's huge, because I think Final Fantasy VII has one of the greatest political stories ever told from, like, the perspective of, like, the slum dwellers or whatever, right? The Undercity type situation that they've got. There's a lot of parallels between Arcane and Final Fantasy, fun fact, but we'll talk about that another day. But they definitely had everything with Zaun and Piltover, the whole, like, you know, what they were building up, especially within the early arcs of the season. They were building that up, and it definitely kind of got a little flat, especially, I mean, again, I understand why it had to happen that way, and it's not like it was incorrect how they did it. It just definitely felt like they just went, ooh, boom, and it was like, whoa, what happened? You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not like they did it incorrectly, right? It makes sense, because Jay, seeing what he saw, he's like, dude, forget this petty dispute we have. We need to fight together to stop this incoming god that is going to essentially take away our free will. Nobody wants that. I get it if you don't want to be here, but I need as many of y'all as possible. And we saw, you know, a couple of people walk away and things like that. There wasn't really much said about it there, though. Again, it kind of plays in the, you know, again, what I like about it, but it also plays against it in some aspects. And that there, it just definitely felt like it zoomed a little bit, you know, like, again, not done incorrectly, but man, it was just quick. It was just quick how things got resolved with that. And then, of course, I love them, and I love the relationship. I'm happy things got, you know, went their way. But Vi and Kate's relationship definitely got summed up a lot quicker than I expected. You know what I mean? Like, going from, like, even, you know what? We'll even go back into Act 2, because this is where things should have really picked up with that. But, like, the way Caitlyn became, you know what I'm saying? She became Ambessa's right hand, essentially, only to talk to Vi one time, and is like, all right, so here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop her. It's like, whoa, you don't just decide to not be a dictator anymore. I mean, I get that you have a good moral compass, and, you know, it was just anger and hate and rage that definitely fiddled with that for a moment. But it's like, to just not even a full conversation, like, immediately, like, off rip, not even a full conversation. She called you cupcake once and you folded. That's crazy. I think it's funny, but it does go to show, like, the breakneck pacing with her character went off the rails. And, you know, I will say, the jail scene was fire. But oh my god, Vi definitely got the impression that her sister was going to do something absolutely insane, somebody that she loves and cares about very much, that she just recently got done crying over and hitting the wall so hard that she was practically bleeding over. And Kate walks in there with a smirk saying, I kind of expected this. You're such a goofball. And they slam right there in the jail? Cool. I get that it was a lot of tension built up over time. It was not like any of us didn't expect it to happen, but goodness gracious, it was so quick. Again, love them to death. I'm happy with their relationship. It could have been another episode or two for them, I think, but whatever, I guess. Then, of course, there is the death of Loris. Why did they build this character up like that? They solidified his relationship with Vi very well. The way they established him as, Vi's friend, and, their relationship over the course of those couple of months or whatever, where she was pit fighting and things like that, and, he was forced to abandon her because, she was becoming a shell of herself, essentially, for him to just become nothing. For him to, try to clutch up at a critical moment and get shot with 3 arrows. His big ass couldn't handle 3 arrows. I'm one to talk. I probably couldn't handle 3 arrows to the neck either. But this is fantasy. I think it's fair to question how that went down a little bit. Like, he could have at least got the shot off, not some random... You know what I'm saying? Like, there could have been so much more going on there with Loris, and they just cooked, bro. He deserved better than that, I think. And then, as much as I enjoyed the story and the buildup of that, the death of Ambessa didn't really add up as much. Like, I get that Mel used her as bait, and, the Black Rose had Ambessa in her clutches and everything like that, but for Ambessa to just roll over and die seconds after encountering the Black Rose, you're telling me after all of their encounters, she just goes out just like that? Was it just because she was just tired? I know she was, kind of carrying Noxus on her back for a while, but to just... I don't know. I don't think she needed to go that quick. I don't know. I feel like that's just one of those things that just kind of proves, like, everything went by very fast, especially in that final act. Those last 3 episodes, episode 7 was perfect. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Episode 7 was perfect. 8 and 9, just starting 9 in the fight is crazy. I guess there wasn't really much else to talk. I mean, there's still plenty to talk about before hopping into a fight off rip, man. I mean, granted, it technically started with Jinx trying to kill herself, but again, like, it just went so fast. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, we have 50 minutes. Like, how are we gonna sum all this up in under an hour? We weren't supposed to, but we did. That's crazy. That's crazy. Regardless, the next thing, I think this is what irritated me the most, is the fact that Heimerdinger and Isha got virtually no acknowledgement. Heimerdinger especially, because he not only did he not get acknowledgement from Echo, bro didn't even say his name. The community walked over Heimerdinger's death so bad. It's crazy how we saw nothing for Heimerdinger. I was sick to my stomach, especially because Heimerdinger was right the whole time. He was completely right the entire time. Okay, he warned them about the dangers of using that kind of magic and what it could bring. And guess what Jace and Victor did? They hammered away until it was, good enough, and look where it led them. Insane, by the way, that Heimerdinger literally warned them what would happen. It started to happen. He got stuck in paradise. For the record, at least he got a couple of years there waiting for Echo so he could enjoy his life and live out his moments, but oh my god, he deserves so much better than to get popped. Now, again, I mean, I got a couple things to bring up at the end here, but I will say, thankfully, looking into League lore, he's allegedly not dead because of what he is, a Yordle or something like that. Essentially, Yordles are immortal, and it's just like his physical form either popped or he just went somewhere else. He was teleported somewhere else. Don't know exactly what happened, but that at least gives me hope that, like, okay, well, maybe they've got more to cook with Heimerdinger, because that is an absolute genius of a character and I absolutely love him. He's so adorable and I want to see more. But in the moment, it's like, dude, you can't cook him and not say anything afterwards. And this one also plays into the speed at which Act 3 went through. No mention of Isha at all. Like, we got it confirmed, like, moment 1 that Isha was actually cooked. We're sitting there thinking, like, oh man, Echo's coming back, he's gonna handle it. Echo did not handle Isha. Like, Isha's gone. He did not save her. She's cooked for good. Like, on one hand, I'm like, I get it, because she was mostly a clutch to, like, develop, not a clutch per se, but she was utilized to push Jinx's character forward in a very specific way, which is why, it was so impactful that she went out the way that she did. But it's like, I think, personally, It's just the fact that there was her name wasn't said, anything. And I know that Jinx was going through it, especially because it was just, you know, that situation in the jail cell. This is a show don't tell thing. She was in the jail cell. She was, you know, picking at her fingers, you know, the anxiety thing, because I do that too. And she was just sitting there thinking like, I just gotta go. Like this, it's not working. Everyone around me dies. I can't keep them safe like this. And I just think it would have just been so strong if we just had a don't look at me like that. Because Isha's mute. If she became a part of her delusions for just a moment, and we just saw her, we could have got something. Nada. Isha was not in the cards at all. That is insane. I don't know. I just felt like their sacrifices definitely could have been acknowledged a little bit more, especially for what they had to do. For Echo to get back, Heimerdinger had to sacrifice who knows what, and Isha literally gave her life up for Jinx to have a chance to get away from Warwick, bro. He is just, I don't know. There could have been more going on with that. And then my last issue, that I could think of in the moment was with Savika. Savika was built up to be such an incredible character, bro. Like after "Who's the funny looking rat now" line, she definitely jumped up to one of my at least top 6. Like she's awesome. She is a great character, and that was not acknowledged enough in season 1. And her come up in season 2 was absolutely astounding. She didn't even get a line in season 3. And what's sick about that is that they advertised it like, hey, what's going on with Savika? Find out in part 3. And we definitely found out in part 3. It was definitely a show don't tell. She is the most show don't tell I've ever seen, because she was the front line of the fight, didn't say a word to anybody. She almost got taken over, like nobody talked to her about that. That's definitely traumatizing. And she just became a council seat. I mean, narratively, it tracks. It definitely could have been more impactful if we had more time with Savika. We know nothing about this girl, bro. We have no idea who this woman is, where she came from. Like, I mean, we know she came from the Undercity, but good God, like, we could do a little more. We could do a little more, for Christ's sakes. I don't know. I just think it's very strange that, of all people, Savika didn't say anything, especially because she knew Isha. You know, we never really got, you know, anything really conclusive between her and Jinx. Her and Jinx didn't talk at all to each other in Act 3. I mean, they might have had a chance at some point. Maybe depressed Jinx walked by or something. Maybe they said something to each other, but I mean, obviously, they did have an off-screen conversation with, you know, again, Savika leading the charge from Zaun to, you know, fight in the war there, but like, come on, man. I don't know. I just feel like, while it's not like they completely ignored her character, and narratively, it makes sense for her to have been a council seat so she could have, like, so that they can have an actual official representative of Zaun like that to, you know, see how things could improve and get better. I just feel like there could have been a discussion, you know, like, we could have seen what her proposal was to, you know, get the Undercity better healthcare or something. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there was just definitely a lot of things that didn't need to go unsaid there, but again, narratively it tracks, so I can't say too terribly much. So overall, did Arcane stick its landing? I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe you guys go ahead and tell me, but me personally, I think they did a good job. I think they did a splendid job giving us a good ending for Arcane. It wasn't perfect, and I wasn't expecting it to be, because frankly, I knew that these writers were good, but again, given the fact that once we got to episode 6, I started to realize we only have 3 episodes left. No shot in heaven it's going to be a perfect ending. Some things are definitely going to be skipped over, and I'm gonna go ahead and accept that. I'm tempering my expectations because it's not gonna be perfect, and as good as the show is, they can only do so much, especially with the allotted time. And the way animation works is so absolutely insane. And, you know, working with somebody like Netflix, ooh, you know, it's something, man. I don't know if it was Netflix that made the decision, or maybe it was one of the higher ups at Riot. Maybe it was Fortiche. I don't know what the name of the company is. I gotta look into it. But there was only so much that could have been done within the allotted time, which is why I think it is very important to go back and acknowledge the show don't tell situation that I was talking about earlier, because that's what they had to do a lot of, and I feel like that helps to make up for a lot of different things. We physically saw the relationship we didn't hear it, we weren't there for the conversations, but we physically saw the relationships between Zaun and Piltover, you know, flourish after the war. We saw Jinx and Echo, you know, having each other's, you know, situations on their bodies, whatever. And, you know, I guess, I don't know if I brought this up, but we saw that, you know, the possibility that Jinx is alive and, you know, the likelihood that Jinx is alive. Long story short, that's her in the airship. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can look anywhere and see within the first episode, she said, I'm gonna ride on one of those things. And she is in fact riding in one of those things. These animators didn't do that for no reason. It's pretty damn obvious that she's alive. Which is why I think that they did a good job, because they had to compensate for the time loss with the show don't tell aspect, even if it was incredibly subtle in some aspects. And I'm mostly okay with how everything turned out, especially because I know that there's more to come. We're gonna see Mel some more. We're gonna see Kate and Vi some more. Okay, we're for sure gonna see Jinx some more. We're hopefully gonna see some more Echo. You know, there's more stories to tell, especially because this is allegedly the tip of the iceberg. There is an entire world of League for them to tell stories within, and we're going to get those stories. And again, of course, the story within Arcane definitely could have been fleshed out a little bit more. That extra 30 minutes that got cut definitely could have helped. An extra episode or even an extra season definitely could have fixed the pacing issue by actually addressing all of the different relationships between people, whether it was Jinx and Savika, whether it was Mel and Jace, you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm getting at? But overall, I think that they wrapped up the story in a bow nice and neatly, especially Jace and Victor. One thing I haven't seen is any complaints about Jace and Victor's story, which I am very happy about because their ending made plenty of sense. My favorite Yaoi couple, man. I'm glad they got each other, brother. You know, Victor was gonna handle that, but Jace was like, you're not dealing with this alone. You and we were here since day one. You're my day one. Let's go, bro. And they handled that, and I absolutely love the ending and conclusion of their story. Kate and Vi's not perfect, but I still love it for what it is, and I completely understand why they're doing what they're doing. Can't wait to see more of them in the future. Mel had to go a lot. She had to go through hell and back as far as things happening with her family. The loss of her brother, the loss of her mother recently, and having to take over as the big dog of Nexus, especially as much of a powerhouse as she is now. It's going to be astounding to see her development later on. And she went through a lot to develop within these last couple episodes. I feel like her power scaling was definitely another rushed factor that we probably could have delved into a little bit more. Maybe a little bit of a training arc or something to see how she mastered those abilities. But I don't know. Regardless, I think that we did pretty good. Okay, the only thing I hate is that Echo got nothing and Singed, the doctor, got everything. I want his daughter dead. Just putting that out there. She does not deserve to be alive. I hate that guy, bro. Oh my god, that just goes to show it's always the ones that don't deserve it that get it the most. And, you know, that's an allegory. That's quite the allegory. Regardless, I love Arcane so incredibly much, and I cannot wait to see where the stories go from here. The writers in that room were incredibly competent. They knew exactly what they were doing and how to do it, and even when they were, you know, getting the strain on them for as far as time goes, they said, all right, we got it. We'll handle this. You guys believe in us. And they cooked. I think 100% they cooked. This is easily one of my favorite animated series of all time. It's you think about like Spider-Verse, it's neck and neck type situation, man. It's so beautiful. The music is amazing. The characters are awesome. The world is great. I can't wait to see more of their world, more of their magic systems, and, you know, everything that was teased within this series. Can't wait to see what happens next. But I think that just about does it for this one. It is getting late in this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there. But I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Did you think that Act 3 of Arcane nailed the landing? Do you think that everything went very well? Are you very happy with how things turned out and how things ended, and Arcane is easily one of your favorite shows of all time, or at least it's up there with your greats? Or are you on the opposing side? Do you not think that Arcane did everything that it could have done? It's absolutely wasted potential. It's not even close to your favorites, and they ruined everything that went with that ending. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yep, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!